Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Gotta shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody, power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah. Can Crushers. Yeah. Can Crushers, let's go.
Hi everyone, this is Ringside Rain and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. And now, here is your host, Mark Martinez.
And welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Spotlight. I am your host, Mark Martinez, and it's a big one because rejoining me, because it's part deux, is the English professor, John. I know you're biting at the bit because you said as we closed the last time when we talked to Glenn Spectre, the big boss, you were excited to do this again.
Yeah, the last episode we did with him was just so full of crazy wackadoo stories that we couldn't fit it all into one show. So we have to do a part two. I'm curious to find out. Obviously, we're going to hear more wackadoo stories, but I want to learn a little more about the training. That's an aspect of pro wrestling that's always fascinated me. Who were some stars that he's trained, and who were some duds maybe that he's trained. Doesn't have to name names, but I'm just curious, maybe what he saw in some of these people that have come through his program.
I want to hear more stories. I want to hear about chickens wrestling.
You want to hear what goes on the road? Yeah,
chickens wrestling and eating them right after your match, and who the hell knows what else is going to come out of his mouth. It's late, so this could either keep me up all night or give me the energy to edit it tomorrow. So I'm excited. Plus, we have to talk about September 10th with him. He's taking on Andrew Palace at Comeback to Clearfield. Clearfield Comeback. Come around to Clearfield. Something is called Comeback in Clearfield. It's all in it. But it's an IWC show. First time back in 2 years. Hopefully he knows.
I'm sure he's got his ducks in a row. He knows who he's wrestling and when. That's a big match because Andrew Palace, he's a star. He is an IWC legend. That's a big match for Glenn.
Yeah, I agree. He knocks off Palace. He's knocking on the door then of Mandime.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, if you knock off Andrew Palace, you can go to Jenny Plummer's office and say, hey, kind of want a title shot.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a couple things before we get going. You guys know where to find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, all those cool ones. But we have to tell you about something, John. I actually have it on right before bed. I have my old school, the original collar and elbow shirt on. It says Property Collar and Elbow. Still one of my favorites. Still comfortable, not stretched out. And you can buy one too, right? Well, you have
Absolutely.
one, but everybody else can.
Absolutely. I've got, 7 or 8 of them, and I love them all.
Well, there you go. Use the promo code CANCRUSHERS, all one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. And John, how much do you save?
You save 10% when you use that promo code.
There you go. All right, here comes Al to tell you more about Collar and Elbow, and then get ready for wackadoo stories, because the return of Glenn Spectre is moments away.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. 2 entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to another Can Crushers podcast. There's no way to get going. John's on the line, and the return of the big boss is here, Glenn Spectre. Glenn,
Big boss.
how the hell are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. I'm doing really well. A lot of stuff going on, and I'm ready to tell you all about it. Past stuff, present stuff, all kinds of good stuff.
Your episode, and I'm not going to let John talk during this one. Your episode broke records. I don't know if it was just shenanigans, whatever that we went on. But yeah, it's the highest listened one that we have now, and I don't know if it's made it to Japan yet. I didn't deep dive into my stats like that just because I've been like that, but I hope so.
I've got a few more funny Japan stories, so we can top it all off. I've got the Japan story to end all Japan stories. So, one I cannot believe I didn't bring up the last time, so it'll be perfect. I promise whoever just tuned in, you're going to want to stay for the whole thing, and I am not underselling it or overselling it.
He's not.
I might
and all Japan stories.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess the first thing I'm going to start off with, though, is that I do have a couple. The big boss is going to be showing up for IWC on September 10th. That's going to be in Clearfield. It's at the Clearfield Comeback, and big bout already announced. It's me locking horns with Andrew Palace. Andrew Palace, fan favorite. The crowd loves him, so I'm going to hate him. Respect him as an athlete, great athlete. Unfortunately, he's let Katie Arquette, some daffy dame, get in his head. I always make it a point never to mix business and pleasure. I'm all business in the ring. And Andrew Palace is going to find out all about that on September 10th.
So wait, Katie didn't come to you for punishment? Because I know Katie's
she absolutely did.
Okay.
But here's the thing,
but you called her Daffy, so.
Well, no. All respect to Katie Arquette too, but you have to understand that, when I look at a situation like this is the problem of what happens when you mix business with any kind of relationship. The ring is not a place for romance or love or friendship or any of that other nonsense. That's his mistake. Katie Arquette didn't come to me and didn't try to lure me with any kind of feminine wiles or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. She paid, the check's good. It cleared. Don't misunderstand my relationship with Katie Arquette. It's all business. I have no interest in terms of the wrestling business and being in the ring with anything other than cash in hand.
So she paid in full already. Wow.
Well, the big boss, the man of his word. And here's the thing that you need to understand, and I'll give you a little preview. There's a promo coming out where I explain this. I don't want to get into Andrew Palace's head any more than he's already in his own head. That's his own fault. That is a mistake, a prison of his own making. But I do think it's important for people to understand that Katie Arquette did not pay me to pin or beat Andrew Palace. That's why I've been paid in full, my friend, because she knows that I am going to do the one thing that I do best. I am going to hurt Andrew Palace. I don't really care about the final outcome of the match. That's not my job. My job is to beat Andrew Palace up and win, lose, or draw, though I can pretty much guarantee you I'm going to win if you've ever seen me in the ring. But win, lose, or draw, Andrew Palace is going to be walking out of that ring with damage.
Okay.
So let's talk about business for just a little bit since you brought that up. Mark and I would agree, and I think you would too. Andrew Palace, been around a long time, IWC legend. We've seen him go through some hell in a lot of his matches.
Sure.
What are you going to bring what's your strategy for this match? What are you bringing that's a little different? How are you going to beat this guy?
I don't know that there's anything different than what I'm going to do. I think Andrew Palace is going to have to adapt to what I do, because what I do, I just do better. I'm the hardest hitting striker on the roster. There's no doubt about that. I've seen him get into things like chop wars and strike wars before. I do not think he can stand with me. And the reality is there's an experience edge. And Andrew Palace, once again, man, well, with all due respect, I'm the big boss is no man's fool. I don't go into any of these matches without scouting people first. A great competitor, mad props to him. But at the same time, a lot of these kids they just don't get it, man. There is nothing they've done that I haven't seen 1,000 times. And I think the experience edge, the power edge, don't get me wrong, he's got youth and enthusiasm, but I've got to tell you that treachery and experience beats that every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Mark and I touched on this in the intro, Glenn, that should you win, and you essentially guarantee to win, should you win.
Well, I don't like to go into things with the attitude of losers. That's the difference.
Of course not.
That's the difference between me and all the IWC fans. The reason they're on the other side of the divide, of the guardrail, is because they're losers. I'm a winner. If you look at me, if you see the wealth I flaunt and everything else, there's no doubt about it. Like, we know how success is measured in this country. I epitomize that. So yes, indeed. Like, of course I'm going to guarantee a victory. I am a winner.
And when you do beat him, do you then, because you will have beaten a legend, do you go to Jenny Plummer and say, hey, Jenny,
wait, stop.
I think it's...
Stop. Before we go any further, who are you talking to? Who is it you think is on the other end of this conversation?
I apologize.
Andrew Palace is not a legend to me. I don't understand why you keep saying this. Once again, I feel like I've given Andrew Palace all the credibility he needs and he deserves. But please understand, if we're talking about who's a legend in this match in terms of his IWC career, it's me. So I want to full stop this right off the bat. Like, he needs to worry about who he's stepping into the ring with, not the other way around.
Okay, so let me rephrase this. When you beat him, are you looking for a title shot?
I'm not concerned. And that sounds terrible, I know, but you have to understand that my legacy in professional wrestling, for the most part, is fulfilled. I'm here to make money and bust heads. And I train young kids and I teach them to have the right attitude going into this business. And that's to be about yourself. Get yourself over, get that money, get that success. Like, that's my, my goals in the business now are to get paid and hurt people. If that ends up in a title shot, that's fine. Like, fantastic. You know what I mean? But I'm not chasing anything. I'll say this, all those Glenn Spectre fans out there, and I know you exist, especially after, the downloads of the last podcast. I know you guys exist. You want me to have a title shot? There's a guy you can contact. His last name is Plummer and he owns IWC. Get on that IWC social media, get on that Facebook, get on that IWC Twitter. Demand to see more of me.
Yeah, but then phrase it to Jenny, because Justin doesn't know how to run any of that stuff.
I forgot. Contact Jenny Plummer. She's absolutely in charge of everything in this podcast.
Right. All right, you have another date that you want to talk about as well.
Yeah, I don't know what. I have no idea what IWC has planned for me yet. No, there's not a ton of it's been released, other than an old nemesis of mine from Super Indie. We actually faced in Super Indie. Delirious is going to be there, which is pretty cool. Super Indie 21. I competed in not one, not two, but 3 Super Indie tournaments. I don't know if that's the most. Probably not. But I have competed in 3 Super Indie tournaments. I love the Super Indie thing. It's fantastic. Had some of the best matches in my career. Great ones to look back on now. You can find a lot of them, on IWC's Fight TV. Super Indie 21 coming up on October 8th is another show you guys are not going to want to miss. Super Indie's always a spectacle. It's a fantastic show. It is one of the reasons that IWC is one of the premier independent federations in the United States. I mean, literally a handful of places I've worked that are on the level of IWC. And so Super Indy's a big deal. If you're listening to this goes for anything. And if you want to go back and watch some of my past matches, both way in the past and also in the recent past, check them out on Fight TV. Fight TV's great service. Like, you can download these things. You can support indie wrestling. If you can't get to the show, make sure you buy a ticket to see it on Fight TV.
Yeah, or
Get that pay-per-view.
The IWC network for $9.99 a month. Yes.
Yep, or the IWC network for $9.99. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, guys, and if you've never seen, a little promotion real quick for IWC, if you've never seen a Super Indie and that's going to be your first look, go back and watch some. Get this IWC network first, watch some, and no disregard, Glenn, but you got Adam Cole, you got Jonathan Gresham, you have Orlando, you have Delirious, you have...
It's a
Hall of Fame, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a literal who's who.
Yeah.
Including Glenn Spectre.
It's right. Yeah, I agree. All right, is that the dirty work? Are we going to get into the cool stuff now?
Absolutely.
All right.
But needless to say, 2 shows at least coming up. Please, you know what? I'll get my plug in now, but I'll probably throw one more at the end. Please, dude, guys, I'm an old guy. I got into social media super, super late. As I said on the last show, I just got a Twitter like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Like, please follow Glenn Spectre on these social media platforms. I used to not think it matters. I guess it kind of does. I am a really late adopter. I absolutely hate social media, but I'm getting better at it by the second. But please follow me. I need the follows.
Yeah. And that goes for, I'll say this, that goes for any wrestler that we have on the Can Crusher Spotlight. When they regurgitate their socials, go out, it helps them, it gives them into this random ass algorithm that I don't understand, but it helps them. So do it.
And like I said, the worst part is I feel like promoters are looking at this more than looking at who's a good hand and who can handle himself in the ring. But if that is the case, I at least want to make sure I've got enough people so that people realize, hey, I've got fans, people buy my t-shirts, people follow me, people contact me, people follow. I have people who travel, have driven hours to see me on shows. I'm trying to get some of that realization back into promoters' heads so I can get out there and beat up a few more kids before my time's done.
And maybe you'll just get a Japan story that you didn't hear here.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get them all on here. So I just have them in my back pocket all the time.
Before I have a little bit of I wanted to give you guys kind of my best stories and stuff like that, because there's stuff that it's funny. I'm eventually probably going to write a book or a memoir if I ever am considered important enough. Who knows? Maybe not. You know what I mean? But if I don't, I want to make sure that I have this memorialized somewhere, because I have these stories swimming around in my head and I don't want to lose them. So I do have some stories prepared, but I know you guys have a couple questions. So why don't you guys throw those questions at me?
Well, first, John, before backhanded compliment at Potter. God, Potter wrote a book. You should be able to.
Oh,
I love him, but yeah.
I wrote part of one of his books. I wrote an excerpt for one of his books. Yeah. No, Potter's the best, man. You know that.
And what better place to immortalize those stories than right here on Can Crushers, Mark? Right?
I absolutely believe that. I think you guys are doing great. I'll shit on you later because I'm a heel.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But right now, I'll be nice.
Clearfield, I'm going to get a big hawker spit in my face. You're going to be Bret Hart and I'm going to be Vince.
There we go.
Glenn, I'm always fascinated by wrestlers who train wrestlers. Was there... You don't have to name names. Was there a wrestler, man or woman, that you looked at that person and said, yes, he or she is a star? And why is that? What did you see in that person?
I wouldn't say, you know what, I don't want to think I have some kind of great eye for this. This is so hard. Triple H, I think I might have brought this up last show, but Triple H said he had this great speech where he, I think he was verbally dueling with CM Punk of all people, and they were going back and forth. And he said, sometimes I see a guy and I think he'll be nothing, and he ends up being the biggest thing in the world. And he was talking about John Cena, which to me is insane to look at John Cena. I remember him as prototype and not think that this guy has something to offer the business, which is crazy to me. but at the same time, I don't want to say like, oh yeah, I saw this in this guy and he became this. But I will say, I was pretty sure, despite their size, that I never know if I'm pronouncing his new name correctly. It's his Fed name. Joaquin Wild.
Oh, Zima Ion, Joaquin
yeah.
Wild. Yeah.
Like, so when Shima was training, when Super Hentai, Shirley Doe, and I were training Shima, he was so respectful, and he was such a he had physical talent, but he was really small. But he really absorbed everything. He was very natural, if that makes any sense. And he was such a student. I was like, I definitely thought, like, I don't want to play like backing quarterback. I don't know that I ever thought he'd make it to the Fed, but I definitely was like, this kid has something. Same thing with Jason Gorey. Not Jason Gorey was wilder. Like, he had a wilder personality, but I felt like I was like, this kid loves this, and like, he's gonna do something, and he definitely is an accomplished guy. Like, those two stick out in my mind as like guys who I was just like, wow, that I don't know what makes somebody do more, do less. Mickey Gambino was always like once again, super respectful student of the game. He's great, and I don't know. And like I said, when I look at I'm like, why does this guy get picked and why does this guy not get picked? Like, why didn't Mickey Gambino ever get a contract? I have no idea. Like, it's like, it's hard to tell. Why didn't I ever get a Fed contract? Like, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint. So I don't want to say like there's a luck factor in this. There's a there's a skill factor, there's a luck factor, there's a work factor. Like, you have to put it all together. Like, you have to, the problem is you have to give it 100% in your work, and you might never get picked. Like, there is that chance. There's still a coin flip involved in all of this. So I can't say whether I have a great eye for talent or not. Like, I just know I kind of can recognize who works hard. And I feel like the guys who are working hard and have some talent are going to be the guys who are successful.
I'm glad you mentioned Joaquin Wild. That guy's got some natural charisma. We saw it in the IWC ring. We saw it on NXT. He has an ability to really connect with the crowd.
But he worked on that. Like, that's another thing. Like, personality. Like, I would not, if you had said to me, like, this is a guy who's going to get over with his personality, I would have been like, no, he's going to get over with his work. Like I said, and he worked on all of that. He really is a student of the game. You can't not be impressed. Like, and I will say, the thing is, as a guy who, I didn't know it at the time because I was like the assistant trainer and I was more focused on my career. But now to look back on it and say, like, I had a hand in that guy doing well, you always want the people you train to surpass you. Like, that's because that at least shows that you put in the work with them.
Random question before John spurts off another one. Do you remember everybody that you trained? Because I don't know, 2 years ago when we talked to Hentai, he forgot that he trained Elias, and we had to remind him.
I didn't have. I took Hentai trained a lot more people than I did, so I remember. I remember. I don't remember all of them. Like, I would remember all of their faces. So there are faces I can picture in my mind right now, but I couldn't put names to because they either didn't stick with it or they never kind of did anything. And like, people come and people go, you know what I mean? Like, so they're like, it's, especially the guys who never made it into the ring. Like, I don't really remember any of them. And that's not to be an insult or anything like that. This isn't for everybody, or like, real life can intervene and everything else. So like, but I don't think I've trained enough people yet to be like, I have active workers who I don't remember I trained. Like,
yes. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so there are definitely people I don't remember, but it's because they never, they never made it to the, like, I'm at least a professional getting paid to work.
All right. Go ahead, John.
On that note, was there anyone? You said the last interview when we talked to you that you're just no nonsense. Like if somebody sucks, you're going to tell them straight up, "Hey, you suck.
Yeah.
Or you need to work on this." Was there someone that you just thought this guy should find a different line of work?
I didn't know whether one guy who also has surpassed me that I really I don't mind saying surpassed. I mean, like he's just so good in the ring now. But I wanted to put over Facade. Like
Yes,
he's another
amazing
guy, and he's one of those guys. I mean, like I hope we get to lock horns again. In a match. I'd love to wrestle any of my students that did well, and like he's done so much, and once, and I will say to my discredit, I certainly didn't think he was going to be nothing, but I didn't think he was going to blow up the way he did. Like you know what I mean, and that's not an insult to him. I just he got himself into tremendous shape. You have to understand when I met him and he was training, he was a skinny little thing, and he was quiet, nerdy, and I don't think he'd mind me saying that. It was the truth. And now he's a physical. He's a physical specimen. He's incredibly athletic. He's got a cool girl. Danny's awesome. They're a great power couple for the wrestling business. I just wanted to put him over real quick for a second because he's one of those guys who, at the time, you're like, I don't know if this guy's got it. I mean, he's listening. He's super respectful, and he's definitely a student. And I wouldn't kick him out of class. He's got something, but to get as far as he did, I wouldn't have expected that. And he's surpassed my expectations and surpassed me by a mile. So good for him.
Yeah. And he pops up. I'll say this real quick. He pops up on cards literally all over the nation.
Yeah,
holy shit. He's in San Francisco on Tuesday, and on Wednesday he's in Alaska, and he just everywhere.
The last time we got in the ring, we did a little quick thing for Instagram where we beat each other up a little bit. And I gave before that when I finally saw him again, I gave him a big hug and I was just kid, I'm so proud of you. And he's one of the guys who kept in touch with me even when I left the business for a while. He was very sweet to me. Sent me messages and pictures when he was overseas and he's just a good kid.
John, your roundup question, yeah.
Yeah. Well, since you put him over, let's bury someone. Was there? I started to ask. Was there someone that you thought maybe this guy ought to find another line of work that wrestling just wasn't for them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are guys that that I just like I said, if you there's nobody that made it all the way through to my knowledge that with me that I thought shouldn't have been there. I'm a little bit, I'm I'm hard enough that I'm you just can't get that far with me. But there were definitely guys, there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but I think he actually ended up training with other people later and somehow got in the ring. And I cannot remember his name, and I'm not going to repeat the terrible nickname I made up for him in the back of my head because it's not appropriate for this, for any other podcast. But, he was big, really big. He had the size right, but he just couldn't do anything. It was so weird. It was how sometimes a guy's really big and we've gone through this where you have a guy like El Gigante and it sucks. I mean, the guy could save orphans on the weekends. He might be the greatest guy on earth, but he's terrible in the ring.
Yep.
And just because he's big, he's allowed to shit it up on for everybody. If you can't have a good dude, I'm going to say it straight up. If you can't have a good match with The Undertaker, you suck. End of story. Undertaker could carry a broom through a decent match. This is ridiculous, And it's this guy had that kind of problem where if you can't lock up right, the lockup, the basic lockup, first day, okay. Second day, a little annoyed. The third day, now I'm starting to get pissed off. A month in, dude, I am livid. If I'm yelling at you about lockups a month in, we're screwed. I'm sorry, it's that quick. That something basic, you got to pick it up. And if you can't put right foot in front of left foot, and then put the left foot forward and cinch the lockup correctly. If I feel like, it's like one of those things, like he would lock up, and it was like the way Frankenstein would choke people. In the old black and white Frankenstein movie, like he would, like the Frankenstein's monster would choke people, like
straight armed.
Yeah, and he would just be like, this incredibly, like I said, rigid rigor mortis effect, like type of thing. And it was like, it was just bad. And it never went away, and finally, like, he kind of showed himself the door, and we were luckier for it. It was just one of those deals. And, it's one of those things where in his mind, it's like, when am I going to get in the ring? And I'm like, Jesus, kid, I can't get you through a lockup. Like, and it's one of those things where I blame myself, except we had, 8 other students who were fine. So I feel like I was doing all right. Like, some people just don't get it, look, you can go through the pedigree. I have no problem. I could go through all my students. They're good workers. Like like anybody that got through was a solid worker. Like I stand behind the kids I trained. Like, but I don't tell you, and these kids that I'm training right now know it. You don't get to say I trained you. I will not. I will disavow if you go off into the wild without me until I say you're ready. You're dead to me. Unless you make it to the Fed or something, then I'll just claim you anyway.
That's mine. That's mine. What do you think, Glenn, is as a trainer the hardest thing to pick up for some of the kids? And the collar noble lockup may be hard for some people, but for the most, what do you think they have struggles with?
Look, people are going to be good. Even the most athletic guy that you're training is going to be good at some moves, bad at some moves, like needs work on some things. Maybe they take a flip bump really well, but they don't take this other bump really well. But the hardest thing to learn is the storytelling, the pacing, the pacing, why you do what you do, when you do it, the give and take of a wrestling match. We were watching, I just shared a clip of the Brainbusters versus the Rockers. I shouldn't say this. I had the kids do an assignment where they went out and found clips, and one of the students found this, and I said, I'm so glad you posted this match, because I've watched this match a million times, and I share it with people because it is so illustrative of the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully, the way that they, a heel, part of a heel's job is to give the babyface opportunities to shine, to really look good. And the thing that Arn and Tully did so well in that match, and just in general, is they would look strong for a second, and they'd already have the setup where, like, they did this protracted shine. I want to say the shine's like 8 minutes long. It's crazy. Like, and it's not the basic shine that you see in a match where the baby faces are just beating up the heels. The heels are doing stuff, and then the baby faces get over on them, and then the heels do stuff, and the baby faces reverse it again, and then the heels do stuff. So it's this back and forth. It's this constantly being ready to give to the other person, because the thing about wrestling is, if you are in this mode where, transitions can only happen at this time, and like, I'm going to take. And if you're not constantly thinking about, like, what am I doing next, not only for myself, but also to just make this match good, to give my opponent something, like, I feel like that's, look, man, there's a reason people look, Ric Flair just had his last match, supposedly, at 73. Like a lot of people look at Ric Flair as like the ultimate ring general, right? Well, if you watch a lot of the stuff he does, it's what he gives to his opponent. Like, that's the magic of this business. Like, and it's super hard to teach. And I'm not even saying that I've mastered it. Like, that is a thing that you're like constantly thinking about when you're planning a match, when you're doing your stuff in the ring and all that. We're really pulling the curtain away on this one, but that's all right. At this point, who cares? Like, nobody, I care, but nobody else does. So might as well. Like, But seriously, like that's part of the art, and people don't understand how much skill it requires. It is the reason these people are trained professionals. The reason they make good money. Part of it is this. It's like, all these guys that you think are really great, like I'm thinking of like the great tag teams and things like that. Like these guys that you think are really great because they understand that it takes 2, 4, 6, depending on how big the match is, to tango.
Yeah. Great point. I love that. Yeah.
That's really great insight.
Selfish guys, single-minded guys. Like, a lot of guys are selfish outside the ring. I want my pay. I want my spot. I want my title. I'm not saying that, look, man, Kevin Nash said it best. You can either make friends or make money in this business. But that being said, selfish people in the ring, not as good,
Not going to make that money then, essentially.
I mean, look, you can only smash tomato cans for so long. I mean, like I said, like a Goldberg push is only interesting for like what, a year and a half, 2 years tops. Like, if there's not some drama, if there's no chance that you can ever lose, what am I paying for?
You could have probably, instead of using tomato cans, said can crushers, or you could have crushed cans to kind of throw us, but that's okay, Glenn. That's okay. Tomato cans is where your mind's at right now. Promotion during the podcast.
I'm using the term.
I know.
I know. I'm being a professional here.
You damn Mark. I know. Go ahead, John. You have one more.
That was it. No, that was great insight. It really was. Mark, I know you're jonesing to.
I need a road trip story. Let's go.
All right. So I wanted to start off with so I kind of want to do this in somewhat chronological order. I'm not going to be able to do it all in chronological order, but especially because my mind is just a stew. But I want to talk a little bit about the Devil's Advocates run, because we talked a lot about, we did do a fair bit on Japan. So my first decent run in the States was as a part of a tag team with Devil Budokan, who is the guy, if you were listening to the last podcast, go back and listen to that podcast later on. But I talk a lot about him because Jim Fawcett, Devil Budokan, was my mentor. I have his gear right over there. I'm looking at it right now. It's in my man cave. Unfortunately, God rest his soul, Jimmy isn't with us anymore. I miss him all the time. I think about him all the time. He did, so much for me. He's an absolute bona fide Pittsburgh legend. He's helped so many people in this area, especially from my generation. But Jimmy took me on the road. We did a lot of stuff together. And I wanted to tell a couple fun stories with Jimmy and also with Jake Garrett. Jake Garrett was the third member, the mastermind, sometimes manager, sometimes wrestler in our kind of trifecta of people. So here's a couple good ones. They're just little quick things. I think you'd appreciate, just little aside things. Jimmy and I used to do weird stuff to mess with tag teams that we were wrestling. And so on the road, we do stuff like I'd be chewing a piece of gum and we'd be talking over the match. And I would take the piece of gum out of my mouth and hand it to Jimmy, and he'd start chewing it. And then he'd hand it back to me, and I'd start chewing it to kind of psych out and mess with our opponents.
Again, this is all pre-COVID, folks. Pre-COVID.
Yeah, way pre-COVID. COVID was just a glint in, some laboratory animal's eye.
By the way, folks. God. Devil's Advocate, 3-time IWC Tag Team Champions.
IWC Tag Team Champions, feuding with often feuding with Sexual Harassment, but many other teams, including some of my favorite opponents like Ring Crew Express and Burning River Brigade. So anyway, so that was one. There's a great show we did there was a short-lived company. I don't think it exists anymore, especially, but it did, I don't even know how many shows they ran back in the day. But Madmar Wrestling, I want to say out of Ohio, maybe.
Ooh, I've never even heard of this one, so this is gonna be good. Okay.
Yeah, it was like the name was an amalgamation of two guys who ran it. I think that was the name of it. Like I said, I think it was two guys. Anyway, some show out in Ohio. We're out there. We did 2 shows for them, and the promoter was friends with a guy who was what is it where you can just not move your legs? He could move his arms. Paraplegic?
Yeah. Yeah, because
I think?
quad is all of them. So yes.
Quadriplegic is all of them. Yes, you got it. Yeah. So he was paraplegic, right? And so he desperately we're heels, and he desperately wanted to like do something with us. So we're trying to figure out like heel stuff that we could do to this paraplegic kid. And it is great because it was like, holy crap, like what could be more over than us like, grabbing this kid in a wheelchair and beating the crap out of him? Like it's the meanest thing,
God.
right? And so we're like thinking of, but Jimmy and I were crazy as shit back then, and we definitely did too much. Like we were always trying to do like crazy spots, and like our finisher I felt like was really innovative. He would put the guy in a surfboard, and I would do a frog splash on top of him in the top rope. We called it Theater of Pain. It was pretty crazy for the time. And so we were like, what can we do to this kid? And so we kept trying. One of the things we used to do was we would hook a guy for a double suplex and we'd brainbuster him. So we locked this kid's wheelchair wheels and we kept trying to pick him up for a brainbuster.
No.
But the wheels kept slipping. Right? And this is the kind of personality that Jimmy had. It always made me laugh. He was like so quick-witted. We hook him for this, we pick him up. It's not going to go. Finally, third time, we put him down, and I turn around to Jimmy and I go, I'm like, Jimmy, I think we could really hurt him if we do this.
Yeah.
And without skipping a beat, Jimmy goes, really? Could it get any worse?
Oh my God.
And the kid in the wheelchair literally looked at us, and he just started laughing and shrugged. He's like, probably not.
Wow. I can't believe what I'm hearing.
I know.
This was old school. You could get away with it.
You could, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The kid was a good sport. We blasted him with a drop kick.
A double drop kick like Rock and Roll Express?
I think I actually drop kicked him.
Okay.
But he was a very good sport. It did get us over his heels.
Clearly.
When I was traveling with Jake Garrett, we were doing shows for Union of Independent Pro Wrestling out in Erie. This is another one that like I said, these are little stories, but I just want to get them memorialized somewhere. I love telling this one. Jake and I were very different in terms of our appearance and stuff like that. Jake was a kind of the kind of guy who looked like he was swilling Jack Daniels and like rough and tumble. He was the axe murderer, the mastermind, had a very like rough biker type of appearance. And I was really in shape. I was 195 pounds.
Ripped. Yes.
Ripped. 11% body fat. And so we do this crazy show. And, I'll give you the whole spiel. It's great. So Shirley Doe is wrestling Sebastian Dark. Okay. And it is a hardcore match. It is for the heavyweight title. And we're, as the evil heel tag team champs, we're to jump them. Okay. And then they are going to fight us for the tag team titles, right? In the middle of their match. And I had just gotten this pristine white gear. Okay. New gear. Oh, no. And so Jake and I are sitting there in Gorilla. We're waiting for our cue to jump out there. We're sitting there. And before the match, I had talked to Sebastian. Now, Sebastian Dark, notorious for bleeding. Like, he was a hardcore guy through and through. So was Shirley Doe. But Sebastian was like the kind of guy, like couple hits to the head, he was bleeding. And I asked him before the match, I said, Sebastian, for this match, man, you guys, like big baby face pop, it's face versus face. Then we run in. Like, there's no reason to bleed. I just got this white gear. I was like, buddy, please do me a favor. Please don't bleed in this match.
Oh, no. You're such a dick. I hope he bled all over it.
So Jake, we're watching in Gorilla. I turn away, and Jake starts laughing because that's how he is. And he's like, Glenn, you might want to take a look at this. There is blood everywhere. The ring is not the greatest ring, so it's got like dips and depressions in it in different places, and there are pools of blood. You could go swim in,
my God.
like a blood slip and slide. And so now I'm hot. Daddy Spectre is hot. We get our cue comes. We hit the ring. I grab Sebastian. I throw him in the corner. I hit him with one fucking stiff forearm. His head throws back. He's got long hair. I am covered in blood. I'm so fucking honked. I grab him. I push him into the ropes. I go to call my first spot, and he goes, "Brother, I'm dying. I think I'm gonna go out." And I said, "Sorry, kid. I got to get my spots in." I give him a hard-ass Irish whip, and he doesn't make it all the way across the ring. He literally takes like 2 steps and just face plants.
Into the pool of blood.
Okay? Yeah, basically. Like, just we're all covered in Sebastian Dark's hemoglobin at this point. What I didn't know, in a crazy turn of events, they were doing the kind of a standard hardcore match, and they had a stop sign, totally safe, normally totally safe, you know, hit the guy with the stop sign, you know what I mean? And but it was a real stop sign, you know? And so, you know what a stop sign is? I think it's an octagon, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. I work with them every day. Yeah. They hurt. They hurt.
Yeah. So Shirley Doe hits Sebastian with the stop sign, lets the stop sign go, safe hit, safe bump. By the freakest of accidents, the stop sign hits the mat, it bounces. It goes perpendicular, and it's like a hatchet.
Oh, God.
It's stuck into Sebastian Dark's head.
Oh,
God.
I had no idea that happened. He didn't cut himself. He is legit dying in the ring of blood loss. We had no idea. So I still have no idea. I'm pissed off because I think he did it to himself.
Oh, my God.
Is that not wild? And so
I'm laughing, but I'm grossed out now, too. Because I can picture
there's
it
like
just stuck into your head.
Yeah, there's multiple situations where like Jake smartens up. Jake is more experienced at the time, and Jake also is maybe at the time a little more giving and a little more forgiving, and he realizes this is fucked. We are in trouble, and he's literally trying to pull the baby faces on top of him to finish the match. Get us out of here! Like, we get out of there. You know, he has to go away in an ambulance. I suddenly feel like complete shit. You know, because I really felt like, you know, on one hand, boy who cried wolf, this guy bleeds every match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, this really was truly an accident. So we get back, we're with the promoter, Kingdom James. And so Kingdom James got us like these, they were it's a weird hotel, like motel situation. Cause they're like, you rent in the place it was in Erie, instead of an actual like motel room, they were like trailers you rented. So I'm in a trailer with Kingdom James, so we went and saw Sebastian at the hospital. He's fine. He lost like 2 quarts of blood or something. Like,
Yeah, so he has a blood transfusion, essentially.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's fine.
He's fine though. Now he lived, and so we know he's fine. That's okay. We get back to the fucking. We hit the diner. We go back to the trailer thing, and Jake and I are sitting there, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. So I just start working out. Jake's drinking, Kingdom James is drinking, and I'm sitting there, and I'm not only am I not indulging, but I'm also just doing push-ups, like hundreds of push-ups, right?
Because what's that gonna do?
And Kingdom James and Jake Garrett are sitting on the couch, and I'm in front of them doing push-ups on the floor, and they're trying to like relax and drink and stuff like that. And finally, Kingdom looks over at Jake Garrett and he goes, "Oscar, how long is Felix going to do?" In reference to The Odd Couple, because we're traveling together. you know?
Right.
It's like, how long is Felix going to do this? Which was great because it broke all the tension. You know, because it was a weird night.
Clearly.
Yeah, to say the least.
Okay. So I told a Hamrick rib story. I want to tell you how I got the only time I ever got one over on him. The only time I ever got back at him. So in the last episode, I talked about Hamrick, and he was great. And dude, did you see he was on GCW?
I did.
Oh, he killed it.
Yeah.
Dude, he's still great.
Yeah.
So, but I did actually rib him once, and not only did I get him, I have the proof. I have the receipts. So I'm gonna tell this story, and I can verify it. One of the times so I told you, like, Hamrick and I did some work as extras for the Fed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Hamrick would always play it off like, you know, and he was right. He's a vet. He's super experienced. He was on ECW and all that shit. And he, like, we got there, and, you know, like, it's, you know, I've been on the road with Hamrick for a while, doing these shows in Ohio for New Era Pro, feuding with him there. I wrestled him in KCW in Altoona. So I'm familiar with Hamrick now, and he's great. And, like, I'm learning a lot. So, but we get to the Fed, and I'm, you know, this is like my first or second time as an extra. And I'm, like, still starstruck by the whole experience. Number one, like, $200 cash right up front from Sergeant Slaughter. Go to the table, bam, right to the pay window, daddy. Just like Dusty Rhodes used to say. And then, you know, you get to go off to catering. And, like, one time I'm, like, at catering, and I'm, like, sitting with Gene Snitsky. And, like, you know, it's like, oh, man, like, this is the Fed. And, you know, seeing Hulk Hogan in the hallway, you know, and stuff like that. And so, so we're at the WWE thing in Pittsburgh, and I'm super excited to be there as an extra. I can't wait to, you know, I know, like, if I'm doing anything, I'm probably doing a job, but who cares? Like this is my chance to get in front of people. And so Arnie Anderson has a bunch of us young guys, like, go down to the ring and, like, wrestle. And I look at Hamrick. Hamrick doesn't come down with us, and Hamrick goes, like, he looks at me, and I'm kind of, like, expectant, like, hey man, aren't you gonna go, like, with us? And he's like, Glenn, they've seen me a million times. I've done a bazillion jobs on this show. They know exactly what I can do. When they want me, they're going to call. He's like, what I like to do when I come here is get paid, and then I disappear. I don't want to do shit. I'll see you later, kid. I want nothing to do with this. Basically, if I'm here, I would prefer to just be paid and left alone. I don't want to do anything. And he was determined not to do anything on the show. You know, and so I went down to I go down, and we wrestle in front of Arn Anderson, which was so awesome just to do. Like, you know, just me, like, working out with a couple other guys there. I'm trying to think of who's there. Like, just, like, you know, some indie notables. I think Chad Collier might have been there, and a few other guys. We're all, like, working, like, spots and stuff like that. Just kind of, like, you know, we're working out in front of Arn. And so we do that for probably about 20, 30 minutes. And then, you know, it's like, oh, we're getting ready for the show. They're going to start doing the job matches for heat or whatever. And Arnie Anderson comes up. And like I said, dude, first time Arnie Anderson comes up to you, it's like, like, dude, you're like God to me. Like, holy shit.
Yep.
Like, this is so crazy. And so we roll out of the ring, and I happen to just be the closest guy to Arn. And Arn's like, we need guys to be security to break up the Edge Matt Hardy fight. And I'm like, you know, and he's like Glenn, and he said somebody else, I don't know who it is. You can go back and watch the video, because, like I said, there's a receipt of this. You can find this on YouTube. He's like, Glenn, somebody else, and he turns around to me and he says, Glenn, is there anybody here you know?
Oh no.
And I look, I do this. It's so great. This is, like, the only time I've ever gotten one on Hamrick, because he's much better at ribs than I'll ever be. But you know, I never really had the chance again anyway. But I always, like, dude, this is with all respect to Hamrick, because, like I said, he was so good, man. He's so good in the ring, and so I learned so much from him. But I had to get him after the boot thing. And so I look up the ramp, and then I said, well, Mr. Anderson, I don't know a lot of these guys, but I know Chris Hamrick. And Hamrick gives me this look like, you motherfucker. Like, and so now myself, some other guy, and Chris Hamrick, who's so tall and so distinctive, if you watch the video, like it's so obviously him, dressed up like cops for the Matt Hardy pull apart.
I got to go back and watch that now. Yeah, I got to go.
Kids, it's worth the Google if you know that Chris Hamrick wanted nothing to do with it. Like,
he's got to be pissed during it, isn't he?
Hey, he was a pro. He did the job, baby. We all dressed up like cops and did the job.
Find it. We're gonna post it, John. That's your duty tomorrow, so it can go up the day after.
I don't know. In the big book of ribs, I don't know if that counts, but to me it counts. Like,
it's a win.
I would count it.
Yeah. It's a win.
So we had talked last time on the show about, and I actually, because this cat just turned 40, and I recorded a quick video about this for his 40th birthday because his wife asked me to. The greatest rib ever played on me was played by a man who also doesn't get enough credit for the work he did in the business. Ohio kid named Chris Cole. Chris Cole started in Mega, wrestled all over the place, wrestled in Korea, a few other places. Like, really good kid. Once again, another guy who should have gone farther, but fate is fate. But so at the time, especially after my first Japan tour, I was really trying to, I was wrestling for a living. And so like, I was really concerned about cash and money and stuff like that. And Cole had worked out a deal where we did like a couple triple shots in Ohio, which was just awesome to be like, it's like I had work on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it was like, we do like Elyria, Cleveland, and then Cincy. This show was in Cincy. And so it's the farthest part of the drive. It's Sunday. I'm already in a shit mood because I'm a moody prick. And like, we drive out to Cincinnati after we had the first two shows were good. And I'm like, let's just get this Sunday show over with. And it's going to be me, Brandon, Xavier, and Chris Cole in a three-way dance. So it's going to be a fun match. But we get there. Now this match is taking place in an empty storefront in the strip mall. Okay. And here's the problem. It stayed fucking empty. Okay.
Oh.
It was still empty when the card started. And so there were a lot of fans, as Dennis Gregory would say, there are a lot of fans dressed like chairs tonight.
Were you number one on the show? The opener?
We were probably, I think, the second match. We were real early on the card. There were a couple weird circumstances in that card, like some very strange backstage antics and like other things. I don't remember the promoter, and I was never asked back because of what happened, which I'm getting to. But Cole knew how much I was like, I was very like, hey man, this is my pay. This is how I live. Like, it's shit, but that's like, this is how I make my living. So like, it may be a pittance to you, but I need this money. Like, and so Cole knew how like oriented around that I was, like how serious I was about like cash and stuff like that. And he very much used that to his advantage on this one. So I look out at the crowd of like 5 people and I'm like, Cole, we sit down and I go, Cole, we are not getting fucking paid. There's no way. We're screwed. Like, this show is done. I was like, and I am going to have a complete meltdown when this promoter comes back and tells us he has no money because the gate is nothing. And Cole's like, hey man, we'll go out, we'll wrestle our match. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm sure we're going to be taken care of, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Cole, there are 5 people out there. I don't even want to wrestle. And, we're not getting paid. And I just want you to know, when we don't get paid, I'm going to have a meltdown and it's going to be fucked. Like, and it might get crazy, And by crazy, there was an implied threat of violence. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Shit was
so,
getting thrown, stuff's getting broken. I understand where this is going already. Yeah.
Yeah, like by crazy, I mean this might end in fucking a 911 call. And so we go out and wrestle our match, what it is, and it's fine for what it is. And I even in front of 5 fans, I give them a little, you know, like I do my best. Like it's hard because I'm pissed off about the money in my mind, everything else. But I go out there and I'm a professional, and I get us through a good, you know, as good a match as I could in front of 5 people. And so we get back to the back, and I'm pissed still, and I'm just annoyed, and I want to see my wife, and like, you know, all that crybaby bullshit that I should have gotten over a long time ago, but like I'm me. And so, you know, Cole, with what I should have seen as a mischievous gleam in his eye, but I didn't notice at the time because I was so in my own head about this whole situation. He goes, he's like, Glenn, he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, look, I'm gonna go get our pay, and then we can go do whatever. And I was like, okay, man. And so I'm sitting there, and Brandon, I'm sure, is with us, and eventually Cole gets back. And Cole's like, Glenn, I don't want you to freak out. And I pop up immediately. And I'm like, I want my fucking money. I said, and I'm not leaving here without my fucking money. And I'm like, I'm probably turning many shades of red. Like, you know what I mean? And so Cole's like, do you guys remember the Subway Sub Club?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So back in the day, young people listening to this, Subway had a promotion where every time you bought like a 6-inch sub, you get like a stamp. And if you bought a 12-inch sub, you get 2 stamps. And if you put like, I want to say 8 stamps on a card or 10 stamps on a card, you get like a free 6-inch sub, right?
Yep. That was free $5 foot long, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cole's trying to calm me down, and he's like, it's fine. He's like, look, he's like, it's fine. Like it could be worse. He's like, it could be worse. And he's kind of like, you know, he's trying to back me off because I'm like, I'm walking towards the fucking gorilla position, which is down a hall and around a corner to where the curtain is. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill this promoter. I was like, I don't, you know, I don't give a shit. Like I'm at my wit's end. You know, I've been on the road for 3 straight days. And I need this money. I have rent to pay. You know, I'm eating out of tuna cans. Like I need this fucking money. And so Chris Cole goes, don't worry, Glenn. We're not getting paid, but
Oh God, I know where this is going.
But, you know, and I was like, I knew it. I'm screaming, and everybody's looking at me in the locker room. I knew this motherfucker wasn't going to pay us. I knew it. And I'm like, just yelling at the top of my lungs. I knew it. You know, I threw my bag because I love to throw my bag. And he goes, but, and he hands me one of 2 filled sub club cards. He did give us these sub club cards, so we can go get a sandwich. There's a Subway in the mall, so it's not a total loss. And I don't know why I didn't realize that was a joke, but I literally, like, you have to understand, I watched a promoter pay a referee with lottery tickets. Okay, so like,
holy shit.
So like, you know, with like you know, the scratch off tickets where you win like $1 or $2.
Yeah.
Like with 10 like $2-3 one scratch off tickets. So like I've seen promoters do some really fucked up shit. Like, so I fucking blitz past Chris Cole. I am now in a full on run down the hallway. I come around the corner. There's the back of the promoter. I fucking point. Hey, you motherfucker. You are going to fucking pay me right fucking now. Like, and I just scream it. I don't care who hears. Like, he turns around. he looks like a deer in fucking headlights. Like he has no idea what's going on. I suddenly feel Chris Cole's arms wrap around my waist. He pulls me back around the corner, and he's like, "Oh my God, you psycho!" And he thrusts this envelope into my hand, and he's like, "Here's your money, you crazy asshole." He's like, "He paid us." He's like, "He paid us." Jesus Christ! I didn't know you were gonna freak out like that. And I was like, "Cole, you saw how hot I was. Why would you let it get that far?"
Yeah, as soon as you head down the hallway, he should have like grabbed you then.
Needless to say, I was never asked back to that promotion.
I don't know why. Sounds like a legit, good way to have a good rapport with the promoter.
Yeah, that one didn't go so well. That was Daddy's temper got a little out of control.
Did you get the sub though? That's the pressing question.
I should have demanded the sub. I should have been like, after you cost me the job, at least give me the sub. I don't really feel like wrestling in front of 5 people, though, regardless of the money. So, yeah.
So where did the subway cards come from then?
They were Cole's.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah. He had them on hand. That's why I said, like, in the grand scheme of ribs, I'm sure there are better ribs. Like you hear about all these, they're just in crazier situations because there's more money involved. There's people shitting in each other's bags and dosing each other with drugs, and we never had the money for any of that stuff. But in the grand,
that's not nearly as creative as
I was about to say. I think for pure cleverness with what was available on hand, Cole killed it. It's definitely my favorite rib.
Yes. Yeah, John, if you would have did that to me, not that we're in wrestling, but anything stupid that we do, I would have been Glenn in that whole ordeal. I would have went ape shit crazy because I'm a little bipolar sometimes. Yeah.
I probably would have stopped you before it got to that. I can't believe you let it go that far.
I kind of appreciate that he let it, because I feel like with something like that, you gotta let it sit and see what happens. And I don't think the story would be as memorable if I didn't chew the promoter out for no reason.
Touche. The little details.
So, but yeah, it was good. But I think Cole, I think there's a little spot in wrestler heavens, Hall of Ribs for Chris Cole, because when it involves wrestler pay, I feel like it's especially kind of good rib because we're so used to getting fucked. That's So in Japan,
yes,
I pulled a few good ribs in Japan. Once I felt comfortable. I don't know how great they were for the people. The two that come to mind right off the bat is there was a guy in DDT who had a kickboxer gimmick. So once I'd gotten, I'd been in DDT a couple times. There was a guy who was there who was I know his family was somehow involved monetarily. I don't remember. I don't want to disclose his name, but he was one of the guys that was working there. And also I believe, and once again, there's language barrier. I could be screwing this up. That's part of the reason why I want to leave his name out of it. But I believe that there was some family investment in the company also. But we got along really smashingly, and he took us out to dinner and a bunch of other things, but he was definitely a ribber and liked to screw with guys. And so when we were on the road once, there was a guy he did a kickboxer gimmick, and he actually wore these modified boxing gloves so he could wrestle with them, but they could also punch with them. He was like a Thai boxer. That was his gimmick in DDT. And he was a good worker. We didn't rib him because of his work, but we just ribbed him because fuck it. And so one time we took one of his boxing gloves before a match and we soaked it in water and stuck it in the freezer. And so then, by the time he's by the time he got to it, it's unusable.
Did he go out with just one?
I don't know if that was just one, and I don't know if that was more of a rib on him or his opponent, because the glove was rock hard. And then one time, same guy, I don't know what possessed me. I wonder if this eventually ended up with me not being invited back.
Every story's ending with that, Glenn, by the way. Every story's ending with that.
We're at this, like, he took us out to all these great places, and I'm going to tell the legendary Japanese strip club story. But one of the places he took us before the strip club was he took us to a Korean barbecue style place, like a place, it's one of those deals where they have a shabu shabu is the pot. I think it's yakiniku is the grill. And so, but needless to say, there's a grill in the middle of the table. Okay. And they keep that heated. And then you get stuff and you put it on the grill and then you eat it. And it's like a cool, like, family style, like, thing. And so a bunch of us wrestlers there. So he starts this whole thing. So one of the guys with us is Futoshi. Futoshi, back in the day, his gimmick was that he was insanely fat. Like, that was his gimmick. His finisher was literally, he would get on the ground and then roll over you.
Yes.
Like, that was his finisher, steamroller. Okay. And he was the fattest Japanese guy I ever met. Like, and he's not even a sumo guy. Like, I mean, he was legit, like, literally built like, like a basketball, like, just like totally round.
No neck.
Nice guy. Nice guy, absolute sweetheart. But he's one of those guys where you're like, is this a gland problem? And then, like, you eat with him and you're like, this isn't a gland problem. This is a fucking eating problem. Like, so Futoshi, we're at this Korean style barbecue thing, and so Futoshi gets up to fucking. So we all have our own little like little fork things that we can prod the meat with, and then pick it up and put it on our plates. And so Futoshi has to go to the bathroom. So Futoshi excuses himself to go to the bathroom, and this dude nudges me, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. What are we gonna do now? And so he's like, keep an eye out for, like, what? Tell me when Futoshi's coming back. He takes Futoshi's grill fork and he turns it around and sticks it on the grill. Yep.
Oh, I know.
And so I'm watching. Futoshi comes coming out of the bathroom. I'm like, take it off. He takes it off and puts it on his face. Futoshi sits down. First thing he does, grabs the fork, picks it up for like a second. He's like, what the like, and I'm like, oh my God, we could have, like, permanently scarred that kid. Jesus Christ. We're really, like, but I'm, like, drinking now and I'm, like, getting into this. I'm like, oh, this is fun. And so then this kickboxer guy, and I gotta say this again, like, I like and respect this guy's work. I have no idea what possessed me, but now this guy's riled me up with the fork gimmick. And so I'm sitting next to the kickboxer guy, and the kickboxer guy is bragging about his girlfriend in Japanese, but he's showing the pictures. And I said, can I see the picture on his, like, cell phone, his, like, little flip phone? And he hands me the flip phone. I don't even look at the picture, and I just throw it on the grill. Which gets a big laugh out of everybody but him. That kid probably fucking hated me. I thought he was great, though. I really do mean that.
You're just digging yourself out of a hole is all you keep doing by saying he's great.
I'm just trying to fit in, guys.
It was F then, because those things are like 9,000 degrees. Did it just melt on it?
No. I think it just burned the back of it.
Okay.
Like it really, like, it's like, I mean, it did permanent damage, I'm sure, but it wasn't a non-functional.
Yeah, it still worked, Mark. It was fun.
The crazy part about all this, I say this all the time about being an American wrestler in Japan, is like, they just kind of expect you to be a barbarian, at least at that time. Like, nobody, like, I would do weird shit and people would just be like, it's fine. Like, Bakugai Jin, stupid foreigner. Like, he just doesn't understand our culture. And I'm like, this is, like, it's, other people would be offended by this entire population thinking you're an idiot. And I'm like, dude, this is carte blanche to do whatever the fuck I want. Like, it's just like, oh, you're dumb. You just don't understand.
Right.
Okay. Like, that's fine.
How much fun, John, would we have had if we were on that, just as the marks that we are, just being idiot? We would have joined in. We would have been killed by all these guys.
That's the thing. You want to feel like you're part of the group. Man.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you fit. And plus, this guy was like important in the company, and I liked him. He was cool to hang out with. He was fun, and he like kind of had an American personality. Like he was a little more warm. So he takes us. Go ahead.
Your best ribs are on your friends. I agree. I completely agree.
Like I said, I wrestled this guy on the show. He put me over. Like I had nothing but respect for him. Like, you know, so like in a certain sense, I feel bad, but I really was just trying to fit in. Okay. So this is like just a weird culture shock story because of the way like hostess clubs are versus strip clubs. And like I said, remember all this information is dated. This is from like 2004, 2005, you know? So, this guy springs for us to all go to a strip club. It's me, this guy who will remain unnamed, Dan Shukodino, my tag partner, Futoshi, and I think Kuma-chan, who were the two guys I was staying with at the time. And so we go to this hostess club. And so a hostess club is not like a normal strip club. It's different. Now, the important part of the story is I had just gotten married 2 weeks ago. So I am like absolutely, you know, I'm married. I'm in my like
good zone. You're supposed to be good.
Yeah, and I would never I want to stress now. I've been loyal to my wife forever. I've never been disloyal, and she knows this story. Like, but it is a crazy story. So we get to this hostess club, and I'm like, what's this all about? Like, I figured it's just a strip club. I've been to strip clubs, like went to strip club on my bachelor party. Like, it's kind of a thing guys do. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a strip club kind of guy. I actually find them kind of boring. Like, it's not my scene. I'd rather be around girls. Even when I was single, I'd rather be around girls I felt like I had a chance with instead of girls who are just trying to extort money out of me.
Yeah, that's called marriage anyway. So yes.
Right.
Sorry.
So it's already like, I'm already like, this is awkward. Like, but I'm going to see it through. This is what the guy wanted to do. Once again, he's important in the company. Maker's Mark whiskey on tap. Like, each table. I don't know if Maker's Mark was the big thing at this place or whatever, but like every table had Maker's Mark whiskey. It was like little 2 to 4 person tables. Maker's Mark whiskey, bunch of glasses, pitcher of water. Okay. And so I'm like, where's the stripper pole? Where's the dance area? Like, what is going on? Right?
Yeah. I'm all right with Maker's Mark so far.
What's that?
I'm okay with the Maker's Mark so far.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So we start drinking, and so these girls come out, and there's 4 or 5 of us, and there's 5 of us, I think. 4 or 5, yeah, because like I said, there was the guy and then 3 other wrestlers and me. So 5 of us, I think, and so there's 5 of us, and they send out these girls, and needless to say that the important part is they send out 1 girl for every guy, right?
Okay.
And they come out just in towels. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, this is unusual. And so this girl sits down in front of me and she starts talking to me, right? And I'm like, okay. And she's talking in broken English. And I was like, well, that was nice. They sent the one that can kind of speak English. I'm just fantastic. All right. But I'm like, this is so strange. I'm like, what is going on? And they're I did not understand any of how this worked. Okay. And so now the fear is believe me, sex is the last thing on my mind right now, because I had just got married to the woman I am still married to today. Love of my fucking life. The best thing that ever happened to me, still the best thing that ever happened to me. And so this girl is chatting me up, and I'm like, my wedding ring is burning a hole through my hand right now because I'm sitting here and I'm like, as the conversation goes on, I'm like, there's like, at first it's fine. I keep expecting a dance to happen or something. And when it doesn't, there's this slowly growing fear in the back of my mind. What is it? What's the nature of what is going on in this situation? And I'm like, oh my God, did this guy buy us horse? Like, oh my God.
Took you to the Japanese bunny ranch.
And I'm like, oh no. Oh God, how do I extricate myself from this situation? I was like, because I'm like, this guy is like, relatively important in the company. Like, I don't, and I'm like thinking of like all the weird shit about Japan. I'm like, is this like, am I going to disgrace this guy when I'm like, do I have to like secretly pay this girl on the side? Like, hey, look, tell him we had an awesome time. And like, I really gave you one good or whatever. Like, this is, dude, I am like, everybody else is having the time of their life. I am literally in a cold sweat, like a guy with like a fever. Like I am like, oh my God, this is so bad. This has gotten so bad. And so then I don't want to get too graphic on the podcast, but like the girls take their towels off and they start doing what I can only describe as like tricks, like not turning tricks like prostitutes, but like doing like vagina tricks.
Yeah, I knew it.
Like,
yep.
Like sucking water up into themselves and shit like that.
Jeez Louise.
Right. And like that kind of thing. One of the girls, like, she, oh God, I don't know what's safe to say on a podcast these days.
It's explicit.
But, like,
it's God. I think you went. Yeah.
Yeah, she puts like a tampon in herself and then like has the guys try to like pull it out of her. Like, it's wild, man. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm still horrified. Not because of this. This shit's funny. But like, I am horrified because I'm like, this is like, is this going to escalate? Like, this is, like I said, in my mind, this is the beginning of a prostitution transaction, right?
Yeah, I would think the same thing.
And so literally, I'm like, the girl comes, she sits down next to me. I'm fucking about to crawl out of my skin. Like, not because she's not attractive, not because she's like, sweet girl, whatever, blah, blah. But like I said, I was married 2 weeks ago. I've been with this girl for almost 5 years. Like, and like I said, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Still is. Like, and so like, I'm like, how do I get out of this without losing my job? Like, and so the whole time I'm cold sweat trying to fabricate some story. Like I was literally contemplating, like, maybe I just pretend I'm so drunk and just throw up right now. Like maybe I can get myself to throw up, like anything to get out of this situation without either like, it was funny. Dude, there was a part of me, because I was playing a gay character, I was like about to be like, you know what? Actually, I am gay. Like anything to get out of this situation. And then suddenly, like God himself descended to save me. A fucking disco ball comes down from the ceiling. Music hits. The girls give us lap dances. They leave business cards and they go the fuck away. And they just send out more girls and the same shit happens.
Over and over all night?
Not all night. I think we only did 2 rounds.
Still.
It was, yeah. So it's like I said, the girls leave us business cards, which once again, I don't know. Anybody out there who, like, there's probably a bunch of weebs listening to this somewhere. Like, I don't know what
what's their business?
Yeah, I'd imagine the business card is for if you want more.
Please, you two are both idiots right now. Of course that's the business card. It's called a business card. Yeah, they want to make one transaction.
If any weebs listening to this can confirm, I guess the business card is if you want to go all the way. But thank fucking God that was not what was on the menu, because like I said, I did not know how to get out of that situation and keep my job. But luckily, that was not what happened. But Jesus, was it scary.
Disco saved your life.
Yes. That's the Japanese strip club story. One of my favorite stories to tell because it's just so weird. Like, I would be interested to know if any Japanese, like, a lot of guys have gone to Japan. If any other workers who are listening to this have gone to Japan and gone to a hostess club, I'd be interested to know if they had the same experience. I'm sure a lot of them were single at the time, so they probably didn't have the same problems that I did. If I was, don't get me wrong, if I was single at the time, would have had the time of my life. Like,
yeah, we want to hear your Japanese strip club stories. Make sure you contact us.
Come on, Can Crushers. Yeah, exactly. Come on, Can Crushers, and give more Japanese strip club stories. But dude, that was crazy.
Yeah, I can feel you. Like 2 weeks of marriage, you're still legit in the air quotes like honeymoon and everything, even though you've been with her for 5 years. I would be the same way. I'd be the same way now because it's not my thing either.
Oh yeah, like
I'd be crawling inside myself.
I put my wife over all the time, man. I'm not joking. Like a good person deserves your faithfulness, and like I'm not talking my wife up or overselling it in any way. My wife is the fucking coolest. I have no problem saying it. It's not because I'm whipped. She really is. Like, just how it is. I don't care if people think, once again, you all think I'm whipped. You don't live here, so you don't know how we interact. But trust me, I have a really good relationship.
Was she wondering about your body language at all? This Japanese girl that was working?
I have no idea. I really don't know. Like I said, I was so in my own head. I have no idea. I feel bad because I probably came off like the weirdest motherfucker ever, like with this huge "don't touch me" vibe. Like,
probably like, why is this guy sweating so much?
Yeah, it was wild, dude. I think I sweat through my fucking t-shirt like completely.
I gotta ask
all right,
this.
like,
Did any of the guys take the business card? Then definitely don't give a name, but did anybody take the business card?
Dude, we all took the business card. It's like out of politeness. I don't know if any of them used it.
Okay.
We all took.
Okay. Just wondering.
Yeah. So that's the Japanese strip club story. I always love telling that one because it's just so like it's hard to like explain to people how weird it is, how different it is.
I feel dirty right now.
It's like karaoke, which is like a Japanese, the term is Japanese, but it's so different in the United States where you would do it in front of people, like just in front of a crowd of people. A lot of them are like strangers. When we did karaoke in Japan, it's in a little room with the people you went with. Like it's like karaoke in Japan is a very intimate thing. It's something you do with friends. Like It's not something you do with like a bunch of strangers.
Which song did you sing?
We actually forced the Japanese guys we were with. I was with Shirley Doe at the time, and Shirley Doe and Farnsworth and Noah and I, we made them sing the Liger theme song.
Nice.
Which we loved. And so we were drunk, and we just would scream the part where the girl says Liger. That's the only part we knew.
Right.
Everything else is in Japanese.
You hinted on the ladder. Do you have anything else? I'm going to try to twist your arm for one thing.
I want to talk a little bit about Upstate because we talked a lot about like the Japan stuff and everything else. And like I was just going to say my like other memories of my early career. Like before now, I wanted to put over Upstate Pro Wrestling too. They gave whenever I get a chance, I like to put over Mike Rosario, who's the promoter up there. His wrestling name's Hellcat. He did me a real solid when I was real young coming up, and we did some wild stuff in Upstate. I feuded with Brody Lee for a year there. You can catch most of that stuff on Indie Wrestling TV. Not all of it, but at least a lot of it is memorialized there. So like if you go on Indie Wrestling TV and you go to their Upstate channel, there's a bunch of old shows and a bunch of my shows are on there. Some really great matches that I was involved in. And like obviously with Brody Lee's recent death, a rest in peace to him, just a super solid dude, fun to work with. He was another guy who, I will say for what it's worth, with his size and ability and charisma, I kind of thought this is a guy who could definitely fucking make it. I also, it was funny. I looked back on some of those shows and I realized that for a while, Bobby Fish was my lackey, and that was really cool.
Wow.
Bobby Fish should be everybody's lackey. He's great. He's so funny. One thing they don't use him as, it's really funny now because like he's like, like crazy striker, like I'm the best kicker, like, and don't get me wrong, he's fucking awesome and he's good at all that shit. But Bobby Fish actually has incredible comedic timing and is super funny. And when we were doing like comedy promos, he was so over. As like he would come in with like just the goofiest shit and he'd be amazing. His wrestling name back then was Jerk Jackson, and he was great.
I remember that now. Now that you brought it up, I was trying to think of his indie name back then. So yeah, Jerk.
Yep. So, we like he was in my posse back then. Some really great memories. I've shared some of the promos from back then that like are pretty funny that we did. We wrestled. One of my favorite matches that we did back then, and you can see this on your wrestling TV, is it was myself, Bobby Fish versus Brody Lee and Chris Kanyon. So fun, especially the hype up to the match, because Brody Lee does a great call out. We go to beat his ass, and Chris Kanyon does a run in. There's this great line I lay on. I was very self-aware at the time, and I had, I was the NWA Upstate Heavyweight Champion, and I said to Brody Lee was like, I want my title shot. I deserve my title shot. And I said to him, I said, Brody Lee, and this is great because Bobby Fish is right behind me, and he's like my hype man. And it's so awesome because I go like, I said, let me explain something. I don't give title shots to mid-card comedy talent. Like, and the joke being that up until NWF State put the heavyweight title on me, I basically was mid-card comedy talent. And the best part of me saying that line, totally improvised. Bobby Fish is like, "Oh no, he did it!" like the greatest hype man ever. Like that. You ever see that viral video where all those guys start like being like, "Oh," and laughing and stuff like that? Yeah, it was like that. He's like, "Oh no, he did it!" And it's just great. It's just great. I had such a good time up at Upstate. We did some wild stuff. My first match in Upstate, I wrestled, of all people. I did not realize this at the time, but apparently this is true. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Cindy, who I wrestled, the joke was, they brought me in and they, the whole gimmick, because I was doing the Wonder Man gimmick, was they thought I was a woman, right? Until I got there. And so I walk out and Cindy's like, "What the fuck?" And then I just beat the shit out of her. And so, and she was a real sport about it. She was very nice. I think, if I'm correct, Cindy ended up marrying Brody Lee. I think that's Amanda Huber.
Really?
I believe so. I'm sure somebody can wiki that shit. Hell, I could probably do it right now.
Yeah, I am computer recording right now, so I don't want to mess up that. But yeah,
hold on, I'll actually look. But I believe that I don't know if it's in their wiki or not. I have no idea.
I'm shocked you know how to use it. First off, but okay.
One of the Upstate wrestlers later told me, he's like, "Do you realize that your first match was actually against Brody Lee's wife?" And I was like, okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if that's actually true, that's fucking wild.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, Cindy Sim. Yep.
He struck me as someone who had a really good sense of humor. Brody Lee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he was like a super good guy. So yeah, so Cindy Sin. So I squashed her, and then the craziest part was it was super over. I wrestled. I went all the way up there, and I wrestled for probably 5 minutes, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I don't think this is going to be anything," And so at the time I was doing Miracle Ecstasy, which is like a chokeslam bomb. And so I was like, hey, if you're okay with taking it, it'll be wild because I'm going to smash you. And so I gave her the fucking chokeslam bomb. Boom. Like 1, 2, 3. Crowd is pissed. They want to fucking kill me, which is the goal. Like, and they were pretty hot. Like they were pretty close to real hot. Like I was actually feeling a little bit like, ooh, might have to fight my way out of this one. Like
that white heat.
Yep. And so I slide out of the ring. I get out of there, and I don't think anything of it, And they asked me back. And the second show I did for them, and like I said, I don't know what Hellcat saw in me or whatever, that he was like, we can do something with this kid. He's like, I get there, I have no idea what they have planned. And he's like, you're gonna wrestle Danny Doring tonight, and you're gonna win our heavyweight title. And I was like, what the shit? Like, all I did was I just beat up some girl last show. What is going on? Like, he's like, yeah. He's like, that's the plan. Like, and I'm like, okay. And he's like, we got a stable for you. I was like, okay. And so he's like, what I want you to do is go out and like cut a promo about how you're gonna wrestle Danny Doring tonight. And like you're gonna have these lackeys, and he's like, just do something like, he's like, your gimmick, like figure it out and like get some heat. And so so I'm sitting there, and in the back at the like little catering kind of thing they don't have like a full on catering because it's an indie, but like they have like water bottles, and they have like a bunch of fruit, right?
Nothing wrong with fruit.
So there's this big ripe bunch of bananas, right? And I'm talking to my crew at the time is Bobby Shields, Freddie Midnight, and this is before we had Jerk Jackson. This is Jake and Bake, I think was the other guy's name. Weird group of kids. But Freddie Midnight really fit the gimmick because he kind of looked like he just had I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. He had a real Twinkie kind of look to him. So he really fit, And so I'm like, what can we do? What can we do? And of course, like I've been doing all this crazy shit in Japan. So I'm like, the shit I'm thinking up is way over the top. And I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And I grab these 3 kids who are a little bit younger in the business than me. And I gather them around and I say, look, I got a plan. We're going to go out. I'm going to cut this promo. Before I do, okay, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to have this robe on. You're going to take off my robe. Okay. And then I know you're going to be uncomfortable with this, but here's what we're going to do. One of you guys is going to fucking come up to me. You're going to put your hands on my fucking chest. You're going to go all the way down to your knees, and you're going to pull this banana out of my trunks, and you're going to have to do it with your teeth.
Oh.
Okay? And Freddie Midnight was like, me, I'll do it. I'm not even kidding. He was like, I am on board. And I was like, thank God, somebody's on board to getting this gimmick over. And so we get out there. I get to the middle of the ring. I'm Wonder Man Glenn Spectre. I'm gonna fucking, I'm gonna make you all extremely uncomfortable. They pull my fucking robe off. Freddie Midnight comes in front of me, and like a lover, he just puts his hands on my shoulder, goes all the way down my chest, gets down on his knees, fucking pulls the banana out of my trunks with his teeth. The crowd goes fucking ballistic. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not saying New York is homophobic. I doubt they are now. But damn, they wanted fucking my blood. Like, you know what I mean? They go ape shit. Right?
Right.
I cut my fucking promo. I fucking get out of there. I get to the back. Hellcat comes up to me and he's like, the kid, that was great. He's like, never do that again. He's like, what were you thinking? He's like, never do that again. What were you thinking? This is a family show, you fucking idiots. Like, you can't do stuff like that. He's like, you can take the gimmick so far. That's far enough.
You gave me free reign, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, he told him, go out there and get heat.
He was right, though. Like I said, the problem with promoters is, you know, it's not his fault. Like you never know how crazy your workers are actually going to be.
He should have been more specific.
I agree. He should have said, don't put a banana down your pants.
I wrestled Danny Doring. We have an awesome, fun match. Doring's great, by the way. At one point in the match, like, we start out with just some regular wrestling, and Doring really wanted to do some wrestling. So we did that shit, and the crowd's actually into it. And like, we get to this one point, he's got me in a headlock takeover, and we're in the headlock, and they're chanting, and it's a fucking headlock takeover. And I was like, I'm like, oh my God. I whispered to Doring, I'm like, we got him. And he's like, it's like the Han Solo in the Luke Skywalker thing in A New Hope, where they're fighting for shooting the TIE fighters. He's like, don't get cocky, kid. So we have our match, and it's a good match. And Abyss comes out, does the run in, fucking hits him with the electric chair drop. I cover him, get the fucking pin. And boom, I'm NWA Upstate Heavyweight Champion. And I was like, holy shit, this is wild. No company had put their heavyweight strap on me, except for like Erie Pro Wrestling, which didn't exist after they put their heavyweight strap on me. So
still waiting for the comeback. Still waiting for the comeback.
Yeah, still waiting for the comeback on that one. So I don't count that one, but they put their heavyweight strap on me, and the rest is fucking history, man. I had a great year run with them. I love all those guys dearly. I wish I had done more. If I hadn't got so far in my own fucking head, I would have done more. I also got injured there, which sucked. But that was way later. Like I said, Brody chased me for a while. So we had some matches some matches with him that like ended inconclusively, or I fucked him over. And then, I had matches with some other guys, and he would be chasing me, doing whatever. One time he had to wrestle Abyss in a cage, the other time, like, he had to do whatever, all this trying to get to the heavyweight title. And it ended with our cage match. And if you watch the cage match at the end, he says the nicest shit about me, because I mean, like, when you have a program with a guy for like a year, like, it changes things. Like it's like everything was building up to this moment, and it actually meant something. And I consider it a point of pride that, like, when they did like the Fed like retrospective on him, like, the first clip in that fucking video is him coming off the top of the cage and hitting me with a crossbody for the finish in that cage match. That cage match means the world to me, and anybody can watch it. It's on YouTube for free now. Like, you don't even have to get IW. I think indie supporting stuff like Indie Wrestling TV and Fight and fucking IWC Network, all those things are really important. But, like, hell, if you're flat broke, go on YouTube right now. You can watch that cage match. I stand by it. I think it's one of my best matches. And it's wild. We bump on thumbtacks. I gig. Oh shit, industry term. I get cut on the cage. And I couldn't have worked with a finer guy, and I feel like it's weird because, like, I didn't know him later in his life, and so I don't want to, like, claim some kind of false, like, bullshit, like, friendship. We weren't like good friends, but I did feel a loss when he died, because it was one of the most significant feuds I'd ever been involved with. And not only that, but, like, when you see a guy like that make good, like, it sucks when the rug gets pulled out from under him for no reason, like, good dude. My run in Upstate was fucking fun and good. I took the title to Japan. I wrestled Minio Fujita for the title at a tournament in Japan called Cruisers Game, making it a legitimate world title, in terms of it actually being defended in other parts of the world. And Hellcat put me in his Hall of Fame, in the Rochester Wrestling Hall of Fame, for that. So, which, like I said, like, Hall of Fames are Hall of Fames. You can take them as seriously as you want, but it meant a lot to me,
Right. Well, let me say this. Do we have more, because we're getting to the ticking time bomb.
Yeah, yep.
we
We're at that show point. I wanted to at least get that. I've literally gotten everything that I put notes down in, so I'm happy.
So you have more notes to come for part 3 because
yeah, I would definitely come back for a third part. I have no idea what I talk about then. I probably talk about new stuff then. But that's that. This is kind of a good plot synopsis in terms of this is what a lot of my wrestling life was. There's still more, of course. I could always dig around for I had fucking wrestling matches, fake, unbooked wrestling matches in Waffle House parking lots with guys that we were out after shows. We did all kinds of crazy shit, but this is a good, I think you've gotten a lot of what I would consider if you give a shit about my career, this is the essential Glenn Spectre stuff. And I wanted to get it memorialized somewhere where people could listen to it because I don't, you never know what the next day is going to bring. And I want to make sure that it's at least somewhere if I never get a chance to write it down.
Well, we'll schedule part 3 because I don't know if you asked, but it is written down from my notes. I still want to know the Farnsworth story about the zipper.
Oh, shit. Hold on. Can I tell it real quick? It's funny. I'll bang it out super quick.
Go ahead.
Zipper Ripper, the legend of Zipper Ripper. All right, so yeah, this is as much as I'd like to start a part 3 with this is actually a good one from Japan. So our first tour to Japan, holy shit, poor Farnsworth. We have the craziest flight schedule. It is Pittsburgh to Toronto to Montreal to Japan, right? And there's a huge fucking ball crushing layover. So we get to Toronto, and on the way to Toronto, I don't know, or maybe it was at Toronto leaving to Montreal. One of the layovers was long, okay? Long enough that we needed to chill somewhere and figure out what the fuck we were going to do with ourselves. And everyone's strung out already, and we haven't even got to Japan yet. And poor Farnsworth, I don't know if it's because he looks like a terrorist or whatever, but they took him into that room where they're gonna violate you anally. They separated him from us and drug him away. Okay, and we're horrified. We don't know what to do. But I guess he had the look.
Okay.
So he was getting abused. And so. Finally, we get to we have a layover where we have a little bit of hotel room time, and we're supposed to chill out, right? But none of us can chill out. We're all fucking crazy already from this little bit of fucking trip, and Farnsworth, he can't. I don't even notice what's going on, but apparently he's struggling with his luggage, right? His zipper won't come off. And so when I am made aware of this, it's because he has an epileptic type fucking fit of screaming and cursing, and he literally tears his fucking suitcase in half.
Holy shit.
And so he has this berserk fit, and we're all just it's like a bomb went off. And we're all just standing there staring. And then Noah, out of nowhere, almost in his instinctual way to dissipate the situation, he goes, Noah's like, oh, are we okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Noah's like, zipper, ripper, zipper. And then he starts making songs about it. He's like, when a problem comes along, you must rip it. And he's just fucking with him even more. Farnsworth had gone so berserk on this suitcase, he lacerated his hand.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. So there's blood involved, the whole thing. He has to get his fucking shit taken care of because he fucking cut his hand open on his suitcase, ripping it apart. And also, it's his fucking suitcase. We need to fix it or whatever to get going to the next part.
Right.
So it's a total clusterfuck. But that was it's the one and only time I've ever seen Farnsworth lose his cool, and he lost his cool on such a it was such a magnitude, the amount that he lost is cool was insane. Like, it was a literal like watching someone go crazy. So yeah, that's the Zipper Ripper story, baby. We'll always live it like I still to this day occasionally call him Zipper Ripper, like, because it's just like it was such a great fucking moment. Like it was one of those things that, like, there was a lot of, there's tension because we don't know what to expect, we don't know whatever, and it was one of those many tension clearing moments that we could look back on and laugh while we were on the trip.
Yeah. Yep, been there. I've never ripped a zipper though, but yes.
And when I say ripped the zipper, like I said, he ripped the fucking suitcase in half, dude. It was a complete meltdown.
That's awesome.
He like hulked out on that suitcase. Like the way Hulk used to rip those fucking Hulk Rules t-shirts off, he ripped that fucking suitcase.
That's a great place to end. That's definitely a great place to end. Glenn will do some digging. We need the trifecta now. It's like having the Godfather on the show. We can just keep this going.
The problem is now it's going to get played out. I'm really going to start scraping the bottom of the barrel for fucking good shit at this point. But yeah, hopefully we'll make some new memories. I'm trying to make some new memories.
Yeah, we'll get it going. We'll get it up. Glenn, I thank you. This has been amazing. Again, John got his questions, and I got everything I wanted. All these road stories.
Breathless after some of these stories.
I know.
Dude, like this is the reason, guys. Like, like people are like, why would you go back at 44? And it's like, dude, you can't. It's an addiction, man. Like, this is like I said it. Like, professional wrestling. I meant what I said. It like as much as like as much as the sacrifices that are made, and like your body gets beat up, and like there's so many disappointments and so many trials and tribulations. It is the greatest human endeavor. Like, and part of it is this wildness, this just the cast of characters, the weirdness, like all the crazy situations. Like I'm very lucky to have been a part of it.
Yeah.
Very quickly, you mentioned Ric Flair earlier. Last question, I promise. Do you get it? This desire to want to keep going? Because people have, some people have criticized his last match.
Fuck yeah!
Do you get it,
dude? Right? You know what? I'll be a Ric Flair defender. Like if that's what it takes. If I can find the quote, I'm gonna read it right now. This is the thing about Ric Flair. I'm gonna read you a quote. It's I saw mixed martial arts academic brought this quote up. I knew the quote existed, but I had forgotten it. Now it is like my life mantra, because this is the thing I try to explain to people. And when people shit on Ric Flair's last match, look, man, it's not a 5-star classic. Who gives a fuck? And who gives a fuck what Meltzer thinks anyway?
Yes.
But I'm gonna read a quote and I'm gonna try not to get choked up, because every time I read this quote, like I feel it so hard. Like, but when I was thinking about Ric Flair's last match, and I think about this with a lot of guys, like I love watching like Ricky Morton now still wrestling, Robert Gibson, like these old guys. I'm slowly working my way to being one of those old guys, and I hope I can still do it at fucking 60, and 70 or whatever else. But so this is called The Man in the Arena. It's a Theodore Roosevelt quote, and I think it's amazing, and I think it's the thing that people need to keep in mind, because people look. I love the memes about Ric Flair's last match as much as the next guy. They're fucking hilarious. I'm not saying you can't poke a little bit of fun, but when it comes to the honest to God criticism, I would just keep this in mind. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by the dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best, and this is the most important part, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Love it.
Very well said.
Love it. Yeah. That's
And that's
amazing.
the thing. If I could put my coming back to wrestling now, and I could put my whole career into any kind of perspective, and I use career in fucking air quotes because I know I never fucking made it to that upper echelon, but I will put it this way. I would like to die one day being known as a man who failed, but failed daring greatly.
Yeah, that's a great way to end. Yeah. Way to bring it down from a Japanese strip show to.
I want you to feel all the emotions, babe.
You took us on a roller coaster.
Yeah. All right, Glenn, one more thing. We'll get another one set up for you, but we will definitely see you September 10th in Clearfield.
Yeah.
Would you say?
It's gonna be great, baby. Like, do not miss it. Like I said, man, I'm telling you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm not saying this to be arrogant because, like, whatever. I'm not trying to just put myself over, but I'm telling you, I have a little gas left in the tank. I'm going to deliver some more good matches. If you want to see some good matches, check me out. Pimp me to the other promotions. If there's any promotion you want to see me on, please contact those promoters. Be like, hey, I want to see Glenn Spectre. I hate to ask, but, like, I feel like if you don't ask, that's part of the problem with this whole social media thing. What it comes down to is people have to ask promoters to see you. So, like, right now you can see me at IWC, but if there's a place you want to see me at, get on that social media and demand it. They don't want to hear it from me. They want to hear it from you.
They really do. They really do, because Glenn will put asses in seats and it'll make him
That's
money.
right.
That's exactly
That's
what
right.
it is.
Hey, at worst, I'm a good hand. I'm going to help you get your guys over. So
At worst, because you're not the worst. So,
no, fuck no.
No, I wasn't even a backhanded compliment this time. It was a good one. Didn't you give me a fuck you? All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. It's been awesome.
Thank you, guys. Hey, make sure you crush that fucking whatever like button, follow, subscribe, because Can Crushers are awesome. They, like I said, when they approach me, I listen to their podcast ahead of time to make sure it's something I want to be a part of. Like, if you are listening to this, make sure you support them, guys, because honestly, the only way this content gets made is through support.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Thank you for that PSA. That was nice. I wish my co-hosts would do that every once in a while, but nonetheless. Talk to you
guys,
soon.
Seriously, thank you for having me on. I love it.
John, I'm speechless.
Wow.
I'm sweating again.
How do you choose a favorite? I'll tell you some things that stand out to me. I never thought I would hear the term slip and slide of blood, or bloody slip and slide, or whatever he said. It was like a Night of the Living Dead story he was telling, with like the stop sign sticking out of the guy's head.
John, those stop signs, I've put them up before for work and everything.
Sure.
They are sharp, and I understand why, you hit them the way you hit them and everything, but I'm going to look at a stop sign differently now when I have to put them up for work. Like, I'm now scared of a stop sign. What if it drops on the ground and bounces straight up and just, like, correct this word, disheads me, whatever. Beheads me is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Beheads you.
Yeah.
I guess it could.
Right? Mine was the storefront story where Cole screwed him over with the subs. Like,
unbelievable. That's the best rib. All the hit my boots, shit in my bag. That's just so uncreative.
Yeah.
That was a great rib. That is taking it to the extreme.
To get
that was beautifully
far.
Done.
Like,
yeah.
It sounds like he was a millisecond from putting a cap in the promoter's ass, if you could pretty much say that. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And while all those crazy stories were a lot of fun, he really offered a lot of insight into what makes a match great. I mean, you and I enjoyed the hell out of the Rockers versus the Brainbusters because we loved wrestling. We didn't really know why we enjoyed it so much, I guess. But Glenn really breaking that down piece by piece and explaining why it's great, it gives me so much more of an appreciation for something I already loved anyway.
Agreed. I like how that's actually like one of the matches he makes the students find or watch or, whatever going through training. So, yeah, another unbelievable one. And I was hoping we would, have the Farnsworth story of going Incredible Hulk on your luggage for part 3, because yes, there's he's got more stuff, and it just, I don't know, it feels like just 3 guys sitting here drinking beer talking wrestling. He does most of the talking, and there's 2 stooges, me and you, just listening, going, oh yeah, what else did you do, sir? Like,
it makes the job easy, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got someone that tells great stories. Just let him tell the stories.
And he does.
Yeah, he does.
Guys, again, I'll promote it one more time. It's up and around our area, September 10th, Clearfield comeback. Glenn will be taking on Andrew Palace. Doesn't give 2 shits if he wins, loses, gets killed in the match, apparently.
As long as he hurts him.
As long as he hurts Palace.
He promised to hurt him badly.
And you pissed him off. I'm glad he came back around. The first 15 minutes, I thought this was going to get shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't happy with my line of questioning, so, yeah, tried to
just one word.
Switch gears.
Just one word.
Yep.
He was just, whoop. I'm like, well, we should probably shut this one down. Looking out into the future, October 8th, Super Indie, that's something John and I will wave the flag of until the day we pass. Super Indie, the tournament IWC puts on year after year. Everybody knows WrestleMania 4 is my favorite tournament ever. All the Super Indies are number 2, essentially, right?
Yeah. Super Indie's the best show they put on.
Year after year.
Reset Button's always a lot of fun, but Super Indie is just excellent.
Yeah. So, love to see Glenn somehow in the Super Indie pay-per-view, in the tournament possibly, whatever. Love to see him get another shot. That'd be cool, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, a lot going on this week, guys. Super excited to have you on board. Again, if you're a wrestler and you want to tell stories like this, or you can answer the Japanese stripper question that we've posed, and you want to tell your side of the story, hit us up on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They're all at CanCrusher69, or drop us an email at cancrusher69@gmail.com. This is why we do the podcast. I love re-talking about what happens during the week, John. I really do. But this warms my heart. Hearing these, what do you call them, wackadoo stories? This is straight up fuckery.
Well said. Yeah, that's the best word for it.
It is. All right, buddy. I love you. You'll be back on, I'm sure, before Super Indie, right?
Yep.
All
you
right.
got it.
Just remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.